makes us more manageable.
Yes.
We'll just then be a nation of mentally retarded people. I mean, I hate to use a bad analogy like that, but it's like make us totally wide open so we can spy on you, not seeing the fact that it just opens the world up to all these data breaches every day. Bank of America or this or Google losing millions of this, millions of that, credit cards not working, my bank accounts constantly having people doing stuff. I mean, it's just a mess.
Yeah, and there's another contradictory point here, too. Part of NSA is called IAD. That's the Information Assurance Directorate. That directorate is supposed to secure communications within the United States. For the government and for anybody else, they're supposed to share technology so they can improve the security of their networks. Well, that's working against the operational side that wants to penetrate those networks. So on the one side, you're trying to defend them, and the other, you're trying to attack them. So the point is,
schizophrenic.
When I was in operations, I had solved a system I thought was a pretty significant one, and I thought, well, the IAD people also do that for our side, so I would go over and talk to them about what I've just solved from the other side, the operations side, and tell them, here's the solution on the bad guys. And is this very similar? Isn't this very similar to what you do for ours? And shouldn't you watch for these kind of penetrations that I can do over here? You know, and they wouldn't talk to me about their stuff.
Well, we have hackers that call us, some famous ones, and they tell us holes and stuff we've got. They help us. That's what white hats do. You're saying they didn't want to communicate in.
Exactly, internally in NSA. They didn't want to communicate and share that kind of knowledge. But I told them my side so they can use it defensively. But by doing the things they're doing, the operations side, seeing all the weakness, isn't telling the defensive side that they...
Wow, so these agencies, you always hear this, but they really are their own little fiefdoms waging war against each other.
And that doesn't count going to CIA and the conflicts between CIA and NSA. It's like a competition. Who has the best knowledge, right?
Since you bring that up, some people say, and I don't know if it's true or not, and you've talked to Oliver Stone, he's talking to Snowden, that Snowden could be a CIA operative in a dirty war about taking some of the power away from NSA.
I think that's basically an effort to deflect what Snowden has compromised and sent and get published about what's going on. It's a side issue. They try to deflect the narrative to something else. Because CIA is a part of this. CIA, and in some of the material the slides that I have that Snowden has released, it shows the CIA connection into the NSA databases, which exposes all that data to CIA as well as the FBI. And that's how they do the parallel construction. They first go in and get the data from NSA, and then they have to do a parallel construction. That's how the FBI and DEA do it. And they have that almost direct access into those databases.
It is surreal that I'm 41 years old and I'm sitting here reaching millions of people with William Binney, the former technical director of the NSA, who ran warfare operations against all these other governments, and you're here telling me that we're going into a total tyranny. I've got all these questions, these Twitter questions. That was one of them. We've got all these open phones. I'll give the number out for a couple calls. 800-259-9231, 800-259-9231. We're going to break here in a few minutes. We'll do a little bit of overdrive. And then I'm just so thankful to have you here. What else are key tidbits you'd like to impart to the listeners and viewers out there about what we're dealing with and how you think we may be able to change it? And then separately, you said you think there is an awakening happening.
I believe there is. One of the major aspects, though, that I wanted to point out here, and that's I have it in some of the slides.
Yeah, we'll start showing some of the slides, yeah.
Yeah, it was a program called the Treasure Map. And the objective there is to monitor where every device is in the world on the network, every computer, every phone, every mobile or fixed, and monitor them every minute of every day. So that's keeping a constant track on where you are and where you're moving and where you've been at what time. And that paired up with the content collection and metadata collection shows them who you are, who you're talking to, what you're talking about, and perhaps even the why you're discussing things, and even in a journalist sense, a wham about what you're trying to, or what kind of operation you're trying to do. And then you pair that up with the treasure map type approach, getting you the when you are somewhere and where you are when you're doing this. That gives you all the components of a story of your life. And that's what they're really doing. They're pulling all of this data together to get an entire picture of your life, of everybody on the planet. At least the objective seems to be every device on the network, so I estimate that to be 4 billion people, and monitoring them where they are constantly throughout the day.
And we're showing some of the Snowden documents here as you speak.
Yes. If you want to back up one. Yeah, that slide shows all of the programs internally in NSA and how CIA and FBI access them.
Skip this break too, guys. This is too important.
So they go into these programs. The programs on the right basically index the metadata that builds the social networks for that's Mainway and Marina.
All of this was denied. All of this illegal.
Right. But it also is storing the content in Pinwheel for the digital network, and the voice is in the Nucleon. That's where the content is stored, and it's indexed against the relationships that are built in the graphs in Mainway and Marina, so that analysts look at the graphs and they pull out the graph and see something interesting. They say, okay, give me all the content that goes with it, and it gets pulled out from those two databases.
So they go through, see the metadata, see the key things that the algorithm picks that they think might be important. Then they can drill down and hear you having phone sex with your wife.
Exactly. And it's also true of CIA and FBI. They've got access to that too. So that's how they do the research for crimes, or the IRS looks to who's involved with the Tea Party. They get that data right out of the graphs.
It's all there in your file.
Right. Exactly.
And they've been caught, as you know, as you said, even when yourself, just making stuff up too. They can just add stuff in there.
Yes. That gives them the opportunity to go in and modify anything they have. Right.
And they now, with voice print analysis for a long time, can take a recording of your voice with different programs that are publicly available, type it in, and then create William Binney saying in a speech whatever they wanted to.
That's also, we call that manipulation, yeah.
And the public doesn't know they can manipulate DNA, they can manipulate biometrics, they can manipulate voice.
Well, even some of the metrics that they're using in terms of biometrics, that's kind of within a range of probabilities, so that's still, if they claim they have a match, that's not necessarily a match. But they can claim it based on the probabilities that they're...
Yeah, I see that all the time. We have a voice print or a face print that you're the person that did this, and turns out it's not true.
Right. Right. Those things are only accurate up to a degree, and they won't tell you that that's true, because it weakens their argument.
Can you imagine if Stalin or Hitler would have had stuff like this?
Well, just think back in the Revolution, Washington and the Continental Congress would have been erased immediately.
And they use codes themselves.
Yeah. But I mean, they wouldn't have had a chance.
And then this will just allow tyranny to get the biggest, fattest, and most evil it ever has.
Yes.
I think we're in for some serious times.
Yes, we are.
A lot of folks are just going to surrender, but history shows you surrender to tyrants, it gets really bad.
Yes. Yeah, unfortunately. And when they say they don't collect content or they don't tap into the fiber network randomly in the U.S., there's a slide, a Fairview slide, that shows all of the tap points in the 48 states of the United States. It's not random, it's directed. It's based at convergent points where fibers converge, where they put collection devices where it gives them a much
sure, the key hubs.
View. Right.
There it is.
No, it's not that one.
That's worldwide.
That's worldwide. Yeah, it's before that. That's it right there. And it's basically following the distribution of the population of the United States. And also, if you know, if they, as they claim, they were only after foreign communications, if they were only after foreign communications, the only sites they would need would be along the coast where the transoceanic cables surface.
Sure.
Otherwise, all the other collection points in there are domestic. And there's 80 to 100 taps. And those are the major points for, major sites for,
and we have these Death Star plans because of Snowden.
Yeah, that's right.
Many Boffins died to get us this information.
I mean, this to me is the crime. This is the domestic spying on a.
And we have them, and they flip it around on Snowden.
Right. Well, you have to.
When he's exposing a crime,
you have to change the narrative.
I mean, this is illegal.
Yes.
But so is Obama saying the borders can be wide open, or he can ban green tip ammo.
What we have is a government that's above the law. Only we are subjected to the law, and they change it any way they want to fit their desire.
Unbelievable. William Binney is our guest in studio. Laura LaRue asked on Twitter at Real Alex Jones, why haven't we begun impeachment recall process for the feds funding, I got examples of them funding terrorists and spying to blackmail public officials? Why haven't we?
I think it's just a continuation of their doing what they want to do, and they feel they're above the law. For example, when Nancy Pelosi, when she was Speaker of the House, said impeaching George Bush is off the table, that's because she was one of the first of the 4 people in Congress briefed on these programs. So if she impeached George Bush, George could say to her, you have to impeach yourself because you're a part of this.
That's how Julius Caesar, who you mentioned earlier, got control, is he corrupted the patrician families, so they were part of it.
This was all done in secret too, by the way.
Yeah.
They were given secret briefings. They couldn't talk about it. Rockefeller talked in his letter to Cheney about this, that I'm not a technician, I'm not a legal person, and but I'm really uncomfortable about this, you know? So it was all they had to do at that point was say, anybody from the House should have stood up and said, look, this is obviously unconstitutional. If you don't stop this, I'm going to introduce impeachment procedures against you in the House.
And now the genie's out of the bottle and the Russians and everybody else are doing it.
Yes.
And then the argument, well, they're doing it, we've got to do it. This is a disaster. We need international treaties now. We need to dismantle this stuff. We need to go back to, you know, as you said, where they only get the metadata. They don't get all the actual data. But I mean, they've lied about it so much. They're recording everything.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. There's so many things to get to in these questions. Over and over again, they ask, how do we throw off this tyranny? What can we do?
Well, I mean, the main approach right now, I think, is you have to hammer your representatives and senators, and not just with emails or Twitter or phone calls, but also when they come to public forums with the public town meetings, get up and embarrass them with asking questions of why aren't you living up to your office oath of office to defend the Constitution? Because under this spying, they're violating all our constitutional rights of privacy. And
we know they're using it to frame people. Yeah. I want to go to some phone calls, but what about Google and Facebook? I mean, and all their relationships with the government and how they're engaged in spying. I mean, Hertz is putting cameras in the cars. That's mainstream news. Samsung admits their TVs are recording and watching you. They're now putting in the terms and conditions of iPhones and Droids. Yes, we're actually recording your voice. I mean, I guess they're trying to cover their butts now, and they're doing it too.
Yes, and I think all of this should be declared unconstitutional or illegal. I mean, they shouldn't be allowed to do this.
It's crazy.
Yes.
It's all these stars put their photos and phone and sex up on the cloud, and then are surprised it gets hacked.
Yes, that's the point. I mean, if you weaken systems, everybody can get in. So, and the other point is very simple, that when these companies are doing this is a rich environment for NSA and CIA to mine, and the FBI. And they say, okay, now this environment we want, and we require you to give it to us. If you don't give it to us, we'll unilaterally tap the lines that you use to pass the data, and we'll get it all anyway.
And then there's a payment. We know sometimes they pay for it as well.
There's a schedule for paying for it. Yeah, there's
it's totally sick. But now they're bypassing it with all these cell towers and stingrays. They're just building their own networks to spy on us.
Yeah, I mean, and in fact, they don't even have to do that anymore now that they have all the SIM cards and all the keys to get into every cell phone and every computer. All they have to do is download from the towers locally a little implant that says, I want everything you do. I
can't believe we're coming towards the end of the interview. We got a little bit of overdrive coming up. I want to go to Brian, John, Scotty, Matthew, and a few others on the other side. My head is spinning. William Benny is our guest. Please financially support this show. We're going to come back in 1 minute. We've got 10% off all the products, T-shirts, books, films, high-quality supplements, InfoWars Life. That's 10% off on top of the discounts that are already there, like DNA Force, 30% off. But all that ends today. This is the final day of the sale. InfoWarsStore.com, InfoWarsLife.com. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
This is GCN, the Genesis Communications Radio Network.
Another major health threat, this one in Toledo, Ohio, where everybody in the entire city has been told not to drink the water.
Ohio's governor declaring a state of emergency.
Did you know that the average person uses about 80 to 100 gallons of water at home every single day? If there's a water emergency, will you be prepared?
Panicked residents forming long lines throughout the day.
We're here at a supermarket in Toledo. You can see the shelves empty where water once was.
To stay safe and healthy during a crisis, you must have access to safe, clean water. Water which will not be available at your local grocery store.
There's a mad dash on right now to stock up on supplies.
The ProPure Pro 1 G2.0 water filtration system is a must-have for every modern, independently minded household. Protect your family's safety during an emergency. Go to InfoWarsStore.com today to purchase your ProPure Pro 1 G2.0 water filtration system or call 1-888-253-3139.
You're listening to The Alex Jones Show.